So, Evan, I have some news. I have my very first arc ramp.
What?
So,
I feel like this feels so fake, but I really didn't know that. That's exciting.
Yeah, genuinely, I waited to tell Evan on the episode because I wanted to see his reaction, but also because it is big news for me.
Yeah. You really don't have many ramps.
I actually have a lot of ramps, but none of them are like a lot of them are kind of the same. So I have a lot of ledges, I have a lot of curbs, I have a lot of yeah. You know, like I have that level ledge brick, I have the FBS ledge. They're all kind of the same thing. I mean, to be fair, this is also a ledge.
Yeah, but it's got like a whoosh to it.
Oh, whoosh.
That's exciting.
Yes.
What was the inspiration behind wanting to get an arc ramp?
Well, so I've always wanted an arc ramp. This is going to be a long intro, but I've always wanted an arc ramp. I always found excuses not to get one because they're pretty big, obviously. Mm-hmm. And when I was in the States, so I think I found out about the company probably my freshman year of college, and I just like kept convincing myself no, because I would have to carry it around everywhere I go in terms of like flying back to Hong Kong, then back to the States. And I was already doing that with like 3 obstacles. So I just keep bringing them back and forth. And I was just like, you don't need another obstacle. But then I was doing that for 4 years. Like I would go onto the Arc Ramps website and I would just be like, I want this like Astro Elite, or at the time I think maybe it was only the Astro bench. I was like, it looks so fun. But then I never got it, and then I came back to Hong Kong and I regretted it so much.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn it, I should have just like gotten an arc ramp while I could. But then my local FB shop, Guai Guai Tai, he randomly just decided to buy a bunch of arc ramps, and he posted a photo onto his story, and he was like, oh, we have these for sale. And I was like, you are reserving that one for me. Like, yeah, I don't care, you're reserving it.
Wasn't there just an event there or something like that? I know you posted on your story.
It wasn't an event. It wasn't really an event. Pretty much what happened was I said, I want that. And I, like, instead of having it sent to me, I was just like, I'll just come and get it because I don't want to pay the shipping.
How far is it from
an
you?
Event? Sorry?
How far is Guai Guai Tai from you?
It's like 30 minutes by car.
Okay.
But if you had to take like the subway or the train, it would take a lot longer than that, probably more than an hour.
Oh, okay. So you were you were like, I'm gonna come pick it up, and then kind of something just spontaneously.
Something just happened out of that because Natalie, who is on their team, is like, she lives around the area, I think. And then I got to meet Gonzalo, who rides for Low Pro, which is so cool. And he's also a photographer, so yeah, that was a lot of fun. He bought a lot of stuff, but self promo, but I should have a vlog about that up now by the time this episode comes out. So
check it out. I have not watched that yet.
Check it out.
Oh, well, it's not yet, but when that comes out,
it's not out yet.
I will watch it.
Yes. So. But yeah, just thought I'd give you that news because I thought it was very cool.
That's exciting, and I have, like I've said a million times before, I'm super into ramps. So, but I don't have an arc ramp yet. I should get one. They're so cool. I just don't know which one I would get because it's so hard to choose. Yeah, maybe the A-frame. I don't have an A-frame.
A what ramp?
An A-frame, like the one that looks like this. I don't know what it's called on his site, but yeah, it's an A-frame. So
yeah.
All right. Well, should we get started?
Yes, let's get started. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Fingerboard Brew, your favorite fingerboarding conversational podcast. My name is Annie and I'm here with my co-host Evan.
Hello, what's up? Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you don't already follow us on Instagram, we're at the Fingerboard Brew. The podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as YouTube if you want the video version. So make sure you're subscribed and following on all those platforms so you don't ever miss an episode.
So before we get into the episode, as always, I have to ask you, Evan, it's written in the contract, what tea are you drinking?
The legal contract. This is a lemon something herbal tea that I got from Ava, actually, but it's pretty good. I'm not really into lemon. I think I said that before, but this is not that bad. I feel like every time I drink lemon or have lemon, I'm like, I'm not really into it, but this isn't that bad. So maybe I am kind of into lemon, but what about you, Annie?
I'm back to drinking Earl Grey. I finished all the fruit tea that we had. It was such a small little bag. So back to my Earl Grey, my evening tea. So
do you have like a tea steeper? Like you put the loose leaves into like a thing and then you dunk that, or do you get tea bags?
I have that for our Chinese tea because we get it in leaves, but for my Western tea, I just drink it with a tea bag.
Yeah. I don't know if I have one of those things like you clamp down and it's like a sphere that like opens. I have one of those, but I don't think I've used it in years. I don't know. I'm a tea bag
I know Casey
person.
uses one. It's like shaped like a cat.
Oh.
It's pretty cute.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Are you dropping a hint, or are you just talking about Casey? I said,
I'm
are you
not
dropping a hint? No hint? Okay.
But I mean, if you want that to be a hint, that can be a hint.
I'm not saying anything. Let's just proceed.
Let's proceed. So we've talked a lot about different stages of our fingerboarding careers, and we've done a few episodes where, we discussed old versus new, whether, that's companies or how the scene has moved from YouTube or FFI to Instagram. And today we thought we'd talk a little bit more about how our views on fingerboarding or the scene overall have changed over time, like over our 6-7 years of fingerboarding. So
yeah, and I think that this kind of, now that it's episode 10, it's kind of like a good recap almost of the first few episodes we had to bring, like, because I know that we've kind of touched on some of these things in other episodes, but I think now we can really expand upon what we meant in reference to some of those earlier topics. So, yeah. So what do you got first, Annie?
Well, I guess, Evan, I want to know, what did you think of fingerboarding when you first entered the scene? Like, what do you think? And this is a question I wrote down, but what was it like for you, let's say the first year into fingerboarding, or like the beginning stages?
It was a lot of convincing myself that I'd never be able to do flip tricks. Does that make sense? I wrote a lot of transition and my best advice obviously is like when you're trying to learn how to pop out of or like when you're learning to ollie, like start sideways and do like against a wall or something like that. So like that transitional period, that period where I wrote transition a lot, like that really helped me get my ollie and stuff like that. So then from there I learned more how to like ollie and grind and stuff. But I always thought that like I just found myself always just doing grinds and slides and never really focusing on flip tricks. So a lot of it was just like almost lowering my own expectation for how good of a fingerboarder I could be. So that and trying to get a bunch of ramps. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same. I think also maybe, actually, I want to ask you something else is also, so that's what you thought about fingerboarding and what it meant for you, but how did you feel about the scene? Or did you feel like there was a scene? What did you think about, like, I guess the community of it all?
just like I just thought that like there was a scene in Germany and there was a scene in Andover and that was it. Like there were like rogue fingerboarders throughout the country, but there wasn't scenes. You know, like it would like the way that skateboarding has local scenes and music has local scenes and everything. I thought fingerboarding was more just like isolated people doing it, and then if you're lucky enough you can go to Rendezvous and join the scene up there. But I thought that was it, or maybe go overseas in Germany. But like just
So you
between
didn't.
Black River and yeah, well, just between Black River and Flat Face, those were the only two things that were in my world, you know.
So you didn't think there was an online community? Like, were you aware of
No,
FFI or anything like that?
no, I only learned about FFI later, like after it was already like people didn't really use it anymore. So yeah, what
Oh, interesting.
can you
Right.
break down like what FFI is to people who might not know?
It's a fingerboard forum. I wasn't ever a part of it actually, because by the time I started fingerboarding, or by the time at least I was aware of FFI, it had become very exclusive and it was invite only.
Okay.
Whereas I know, because I asked Simon from Cartwheels, I think at the very beginning stages it was open,
Mm-hmm.
anyone could join it, but I had surpassed that generation of fingerboarding already. Like I wasn't a part of that part. Yeah, so I was never a part of it. Um, but yeah, it's a fingerboard forum. I guess if you wanna, I guess it's kind of like Discord. I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
or
I know
Reddit.
it's kind of sad that we don't exactly know what it was, but it's kind of hard to speak on it when we weren't a part of it. But yeah, are you in the Discord?
I don't like Discord.
Yeah, I see literally the exact same reason I don't like group chats or Discord. So it's kind of like difficult to keep up with, and so yeah, I've been on it, but like I don't stay there. Like it's not really my thing. So um, yeah, but I mean to
Yeah.
think
Also for
about
me,
yeah.
like, sorry. Yeah. Also for me, like, seeing how I really didn't want to bring this up until later, but seeing how I'm able to, I guess, again, see some of the bad stuff that goes on Instagram itself, which is a much more public and a much bigger community. Like I can't imagine what Discord would be like because it's so much smaller. Like you get what I mean? It's more concentrated, if that makes sense. And also I've heard a lot of bad things that come up on chats. Um, just like so much drama happens as a result of those chats. I'm just like not bothered to be a part of that.
It's fair. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
also think like in comparison to where we are now, when you look like in the like early like 2000 early how do you even phrase that, like between 2000 and 2010, the early 2000s, I guess, like before social media was what it was today, having a forum is so important to meet other people. And like I don't know about you, but I just missed, I know we missed the FFI window, but in terms of like forums in general, I feel like we just missed that as well, to where like we were getting old enough to like really explore and use the internet on our own. Like it was, I mean, I think what Instagram was like 2012 when it started. So
Beats
like
me.
we had already been using like social media and stuff like that.
So with me and FFI, the main reason why I wasn't a part of it, obviously, number one, it was invite only, and I knew very few people in the scene when I first started. But also, I just never sought out the idea or like the feeling of wanting to be a part of FFI. I know this sounds really
Mm-hmm.
bad, but I think for me, it's also because um, there is like I knew what Reddit. Wait, was Reddit around back then? But I knew what forums were, and
Yeah.
I never liked like the format of
Forums. Forums.
Forums. I occasionally checked FBHQ, but that was about it. I don't even know if that really counts as a forum. I think it is, but yeah, it's so much not my thing that I can't really tell what is a forum, what isn't. It's just a lot of information for me to process at once, which is why I didn't really enjoy it. And it sucks because I feel like FFI would have been a great thing for me to be a part of, because I think you learned a lot while you were on FFI, but it's just harder because information is less concentrated now. At least I feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to put yourself back in that position, though. Like I was saying, like Instagram came out in 2010, actually. I just saw that. And did you know Snapchat came out in 2011? I would have said it was way later than that. But anyway, I missed that whole cutoff. But, like, I mean, aside from, like, Facebook, like, there really wasn't much. So, like, it's cool to look back and think of just a place where you can meet other people. Because, like I said, I didn't think that there was any community outside of, like, in-person ones really isolated in different parts of the country and the world. So yeah, that's kind of where my original outlook towards the community was. But what about you on a personal level, like in terms of like just how you viewed your own fingerboarding? Like you were saying, you also didn't really get into flips or anything.
I pretty much had the same views you did in terms of like I won't ever be able to do a kickflip. Like I won't ever be able to do a Smith and kickflip out, which is now like my favorite trick to do. If you check any of my edits, it's definitely in there. Because it's probably the only trick I can do very well. But I don't remember a time I ever like really analyzed my own fingerboarding or really thought about my own fingerboarding. It was just kind of like, I want to do tricks. I want to learn tricks. I want to like figure out what tricks are also, because I didn't come from skateboarding. That's another thing.
Yeah.
I tried skateboarding. I really, really did, but it just wasn't for me. Also, I had knee problems and I had to choose. I used to dance, so I had to choose whether I wanted to do dance or whether I wanted to do skateboarding. And like, obviously I chose dance because I've been doing it for longer, but also, the thing about being at a boarding school is you don't really get a place to skateboard. Like I couldn't drive myself to a skate park because we weren't really allowed out on weekends. And I would pretty much get yelled at if I was skating on any, like even cruising around, because it wasn't ladylike. And so I just kind of didn't bother anymore. So I was trying to learn what different tricks were called. Like I was watching a lot of like the Revive skateboards team back then, like Andy Schrock and those people. And so I knew what a kickflip was, I knew what a treflip was, I knew what an ollie was, I knew what shove it. I knew very basic things, but at the time, if I'm honest, I didn't even know what the difference between a nollie, a switch, and a fakie trick was. Which is, it's like, I guess it's embarrassing to say that, but if you don't come from skateboarding, that's something that you don't really know unless you're like studying it.
How old were you at that point when you were?
I was 14.
Okay.
I started fingerboarding when I was 15.
So were you with like the Andy Schrock stuff? That was around the same time, like 2015.
Probably. So I started fingerboarding in 2014. So I probably started watching those videos 2012.
Is there any chance you remember Shredcast?
I remember Shredcast, but I never listened to it.
Unreal. Yeah, I used to watch Shredcast live. It was like Andy Schrock, Josh Katz, Am Skater, Basquith, and Black Ninja or Ninja Lifestyle. I think he used to be Black Ninja. I think he switched his
Yeah.
name to like Ninja Lifestyle or something. But dude, that is so crazy. I didn't know that you watched any of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I really wanted to be a part of that world,
Mm-hmm.
to quote The Little Mermaid, but I really did. And but I wasn't able to. Like, I think if I had been in Hong Kong, it'd be a slightly different story, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, just didn't I did gravitate towards it, which is why I watched it so much, but it
I
didn't
can't
have the
imagine
accessibility.
every like facet of my life is like skateboarding. Like I fingerboard when I can't skate. When it's cold, I snowboard. But like I mean, like I mean, I try to skate in the winter, but it's kind of difficult. It always is like snowing or wet or just like freezing, and falling in the cold is the worst. I know I'm making all these excuses, but I just love skating. Like, and I'm also at an age and a point where like I'm not gonna progress further than I'm at in terms of like I know that I'm not gonna like be board sliding 16 stair handrails. Like that's out of the realm of possibility, but that doesn't mean that I can still go learn smaller things at the skate park and stuff. And I have like a bucket list or a laundry list of stuff that I want to do next time I'm able to get to my local. But again, it's been really bad. There was one weekend where it was like really nice and really dry and stuff, and the locals were there making they were extending the spine, and it was just like don't skate when the DIY stuff was going on, because they're just really, it's small. But yeah, so I haven't really had that opportunity, but it kind of sucks that you had to give up skateboarding, because I couldn't imagine having to do that and not being able to skate.
I think, honestly, I think it was kind of a blessing in disguise that I never learned, because I knew how to ollie and that was it, but I wasn't ever like, I love skating so much. Like, I was just kind of, this is a cool thing I want to learn. And I wasn't at that point in my skating career where if I didn't have it anymore, it would be a huge loss for me, which I know probably, like, for a lot of you, you're probably going to be like, oh, Annie doesn't even skate, like she can't
You
even
don't
do
even
these tricks
skate?
on a
Oh,
skateboard.
I'm
But
gonna start a rumor that you
like,
push Mongo. Like on my story, I'm gonna be like, Annie Ann pushes Mongo. Unless you did.
um I probably did when I first started skating, honestly, but then I found
I
out what pushing
definitely did.
Mongo was. And then I was like, oh, I need to stop doing that.
I used to get bullied at the skate park for pushing Mongo, so I
But
stopped. Best thing that ever happened to me.
it's also, I realized that not pushing Mongo is a lot more efficient than pushing Mongo.
Yeah. It's a learning curve though, for sure, because you gotta like, it's a whole balance switch. But if you do push Mongo, don't switch. Trust me, it's gonna be so much better, so much easier, more board control. Anyway.
Yeah, so yeah, anyway, like, for me at that point in my life, it wasn't so important to me that if I, like, when I had to give it up, it was like devastating. Whereas I think fingerboarding, if I had to give it up completely, I would be pretty sad. Like, right now, I'd be pretty sad.
Yeah, I don't think that there will ever be a point in my life where I will always, at least at a minimum, have a setup that lives somewhere that I will use occasionally. Like that would be the bare minimum. Like, I could never imagine a world where it's like, okay, this is the last time I will ever do a kickflip on a fingerboard. Like, I don't know. I don't think that will ever leave me. But
Yeah, I get that. Speaking of leaving, I was going to ask, did you ever leave the scene at any point? Or I think we kind of talked about this before. I don't remember if it was on the podcast or whether it was just like a conversation you and I had. but you kind of mentioned how you were in the scene, but also you weren't. So like you were fingerboarding, but you weren't ever like posting stuff. You would still go to Rendezvous, but you were never like posting stuff.
Yeah, it was just a brief timeline. I had a channel in 2013 to 2014. And then I started making like vlogs about photography on a different YouTube channel, and I was so scared of people finding my fingerboard channel that I like erased it from the web, saved none of the videos. I'm so sad. And like I'm so sad that I didn't save any of those videos, but I then kind of just fingerboarded in the background, but didn't really focus on it for too long. And then when I stopped really doing like the photography stuff, I got back into fingerboarding. But there was like from probably 2018 to the beginning of 2020, so like there was like a probably a year and a half that like I was just like on Instagram, kind of involved in the community, but didn't have a YouTube channel and didn't really have any, like I had like 60 followers and stuff. Like I wasn't really involved the way that like I am now with YouTube and with this podcast and stuff. So like, yeah. And now that I don't really do YouTube anymore, but I still try to stay active by doing this podcast and doing some stuff.
I mean, it's already a lot of work for you to be editing this podcast and filming this podcast.
Yeah, there's just no time to do the
weeks.
YouTube thing, which like I'm fine with, because that was I was making 2 videos a week because that's all I had to do. If I didn't have that, I would have gone crazy, you know, because I mean everything was closed during lockdown. We couldn't do anything. But I mean, like once I moved back out to school and like had to reassimilate and start working again, start doing school again, like there just wasn't time. So this is, between this and running, I have no free time. Like it is so minimal.
If you were involved, but you also weren't involved, but you were also not. So when you came, did you ever have to come back into the scene? So like when you when you decided to start YouTube again or take your Instagram more seriously, what was that like? Was it weird? Was it surprising? Was it overwhelming in terms of,
making an Instagram account it was November of 2018. It was on my way to Rendezvous. Was so cool because I just made an account because I on my personal Instagram, I followed Black River, Mike Schneider, and Nico Frank. So I knew that there was like Instagram, but like I thought it was more kind of, I came to it with the photography or like the video making mindset, where it's not really, you might disagree, but like I feel like it's so much more competitive within the photo community. Like, look at this photo I took. And there's not really like group chats and like people hyping each other up. It's just like, oh, wow, nice photo. On to the next thing, you know, like there's no real discussions. And I don't know if you have a different opinion on that, but I thought that's what fingerboarding was going to be. So I made the account to kind of do that. And what I realized, like I met those 60 people that followed me were people that I met at Rendezvous. And I was like, oh my gosh, like there's like this huge community at group chats, and like people have like meetups and like virtual meetups and play skate over Instagram Live and all this stuff. And I was completely blown away because I had not experienced that in the photo community at all. And yeah, do you share a similar experience within your video, like within the video community? Because I was never involved in that on Instagram at all.
I'd be lying if I said I participate in the video community often at the moment. That kind of took a backseat because I wanted to take some time to focus on my own personal stuff instead of like personal work, instead of doing work for other people. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same. Like also, going back into photography over the last few months, I've really been seeing like it's so hard. It's just difficult. I don't want to rant about photos and photography and how Instagram impacts the way you view photos, but like it's just it like I don't know. I agree. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it was a big shock in a good way. It was really cool. And so yeah.
So something I also want to kind of bring up is how have your views not changed? Like, what's something that's remained the same for you? What
I
are some things that have remained the same?
I still love collecting ramps. Even though I don't really have a ramp collection, I have like 6, but they're all kind of expensive. So I do
And
like
they're all
collecting.
massive.
Yeah, they are humongous. I could never live. I like living in the country because there's so much space and I can have space for my ramps. I could never live in the city.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I'd put my ramps. No, I definitely still love collecting ramps. I also, this isn't really a view more than just a frustration. I still can't kickflip back tail, and it's been over 10 years since I've started trying. Terrible. Can't do it. Yeah.
Consistency.
And also, not even on topic, just something I'm going to rant about. I used to be able to pop my tray flips like 2 feet in the air, and I can't, and I have never figured out how to do it again. I like completely lost that muscle memory, and it's plaguing me. It's been like 4 years since I lost it, and I can't get it back. So DM me any advice because I need it desperately. Okay. End of rant.
Well, I find that tray flips now are kind of my wait. So I'm sorry about your loss of the high tray flip, but um I find so I guess this is one thing that's changed. I used to love kick flips. I used to be better at kick flips, but now I'm better at tray flips and I find them easier to um get into grinds. But I also don't think they're the prettiest trick. So
Tray flips?
yeah, I don't know why.
Tray flips?
On a fingerboard, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry, I offended Evan real bad.
You offended most, if not all, of the community. Tray flips. That's the best looking trick.
I like kickflip. I like the way kickflips look. I don't know.
I'm really into tweaked kickflips right now, where like you catch them off axis and then bring them back down. Like you don't catch them flat, which is, I'm not calling anybody out because I cannot do a tweaked kickflip. Like I can do if I have 15 tries or if I'm doing it out of a ramp or something like that. But on flat, like I like rocket flip straight up basically. And I really like the look of like a good tweaked kickflip where you catch it and then bring it back down. Those look so cool. But no, also if there's a difference between hard flips and pop shove-its, and sometimes people's hard flips do look like pop shove-its. I'm also guilty of that. So yeah, another soapbox, but yeah. So I have a talking point, but why don't we take a quick break and hear about some wonderful things, and then we'll come back.
This episode of the Fingerboard Brew is once again brought to you by Shed Fingerboards. Shed is run by a husband and wife team in Alberta, Canada that features decks, concrete, and a bunch of other stuff too.
Each deck is hand painted and has a unique crafted feel that ensures the deck does not feel machine made. Each deck is given proper attention and quality control.
One of our favorite things about Shed is their program to mentor teens, where they teach them a bunch of stuff like how to make decks, how to budget, how to deal with shipping, and how to create an online shop. And they do a lot of other stuff as well.
And again, one of the things that really struck us about this company is the message behind it, and we love that they're using fingerboarding to help others.
Devin, who co-owns Shed Fingerboards, sums it up very nicely by saying, "We let them become a part of Shed and then help to send them out to do their own thing. We are all about the community and making the world a much more friendly and peaceful place."
So once again, if you want to get your own shed deck and be a part of this great cause, head over to shedfingerboards.bigcartel.com and check out all the great products that Shed has to offer. This episode of the Fingerboard Brew is also brought to you by Chems FB, a company based out of St. Louis in the United States that sells decks, completes, tape, and other fingerboard accessories.
Chems has been making boards for just over 4 years now, and each of their 70 graphics are excellently designed. I have to say my favorites are the cube skull and also, of course, the flamingo graphic because that's my friend Brian's pro model. But there are so many others to choose from.
A cool thing about Chems is that they not only sell fingerboard equipment, but they also sell skateboards and wheels as well, so you can own both a Chems fingerboard and a Chems skateboard.
Chems offers a few different shapes, with the most popular being the 34mm mid-pro popsicle. They also sell fingerboard completes, which come with a set of 34mm single axle trucks and CNC bearing wheels.
There are multiple foam tape options. Chems F3 tape comes in regular 1mm thickness or super thin 0.5mm thickness for extra board feel. The newly released F4 tape is softer and smoother, and 2 sheets are included with every deck.
If you want to get your own Chems products, head on over to chemsfb.com and check out all the amazing things they have to offer. And you guys are also getting a deal. Enter discount code FBBREW at checkout for 10% off any fingerboard deck or complete. That's FBBREW.
Thank you so much, Chems, for sponsoring this episode. Wow, so yeah, thank you. We have another set of wonderful sponsors for this episode. And I realized when we were on break that we did not talk about how your views have changed in the community.
Right,
I just
right.
rudely went to another topic. Me.
You're good. I honestly forgot about it. But, so I don't know if I can say that my views on fingerboarding itself have really changed that much. I think what's really interesting, is I don't know what your notes look like, but, for my notes, I kind of, like, I have my thoughts almost separated, like, to fingerboarding as in the act of fingerboarding versus the scene and the community. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the questions I was asking you were kind of based off of what your thoughts might be on the scene and community, but it sounds like a lot of your views on fingerboarding are purely on actual fingerboarding. I don't know if that makes any sense to
No, I understand. Like the physical act of fingerboarding.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if I can say that my views on fingerboarding itself have changed that much. I thought it was very fun going into it. Like, it was definitely more challenging going into it than it is now. But I thought it was fun then, and I still think it's fun now. Mm-hmm. And I think one thing that's consistent is I've always been impressed, and I keep being impressed by how good people in the scene are. When I first started fingerboarding, the person I would look up to a lot was Mike Schneider. And now, not that I don't care about Mike Schneider, but I've been able to be introduced to a bunch of other fingerboarders because of Instagram and since I first started. So now I'll watch a video from someone like Mitch Rush or Maria, and I'm like, how do they do those tricks? And so one thing that has never changed is my amazement with fingerboarding and just like how impressed I am by everything, even like with craftsmanship of a lot of companies, but at the same time, I guess my views have also changed in that, like, there are a lot of companies I end up trying that aren't really that great, or like specifically stuff that I spend money on might not be what I expect it to be, or like my expectations used to be very high for fingerboarding, for decks or for craftsmanship, and my standards are still high, but I know now that not everything can meet the standards of how people used to make boards. And we already talked about that when we discussed like hype companies, and not the last episode, but the episode before that.
But I think the other side of that coin is that I have gotten decks that the quality has blown me away, like to something that I've honestly never even expected before. And
Yeah.
I think that that's, you know, that's the other side of it, where it's like, I don't know, like I've just gotten decks that I'm like, oh, this legitimately feels like a skateboard. Like it's incredible. So yeah, that's definitely changed, and I think that'll continue as people learn to perfect. I mean, like there's no industry the way there's a skateboard industry. Like there is, but it's not the same, and there's not the same
No.
research and development that there is in skateboarding. So like back then in comparison to now, even just the 10 years of people like all this trial and error and different formulas and different deck making and different wheel making, all this stuff like has made it so much better. So I think you're right. I think you're right in saying that like you can definitely have your expectations not met, but I also think that there's a huge area for having your expectations exceeded as well. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. But yeah, no, that's definitely a good point. And I also want to know like your, I know that we've talked about our views on sponsorship, but like did it change for you at all from the beginning to now, or do you think that you've always kind of stayed the same when it comes to that?
Yeah, I definitely think we did talk about this in that episode about sponsorships, but they have changed. I think to me they're a lot less of a not they're not less of a deal, but it's kind of like a give and take. It's not just a take situation. Like I definitely never thought back then that being sponsored should mean that you're helping out the company as well. I always thought it was just, oh, you get free stuff and that's cool. So in that way, my views have definitely changed.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
No, I definitely agree with that. I think that it's changed. Like I thought that it was just about getting decks, but also since I only thought that you could get, since I didn't realize that there were communities, I thought that like teams were only about like making videos about each other and friends and hyping each other up and stuff. And I didn't realize that like, you know, there are shops with teams where like people meet up at the shops, and like listening to Yana's podcast, just hearing about Switchcraft, just hearing about like how they meet up at the shop all the time and there are all these parks and stuff. That's a little bit different than what we're talking about, but seeing that community is really cool. And I know that there are communities where like there are shops with shop riders and they like meet up, and it's like more closely related to skateboarding. There's not trips really the way there are in skateboarding, but there are more parallels to a skateboard sponsorship. There are parallels between a skateboard sponsorship and a fingerboard sponsorship that I didn't realize existed. So that definitely was a big change as well.
I'm sure a lot of you guys can tell my views on the scene. So given the episodes that we've been recording, I think you can tell my views on the scene and what the community is as a whole have changed more than anything else because of how it operates. So my view on fingerboarding itself, like I said, is always the same. But my view on the scene or the community, I think, is slightly different because, well, I think prior to me starting my fingerboard Instagram, I was someone kind of like Evan who both participated and also did not participate in the scene or the community. Yeah. And what I mean by that is I was mostly just making stuff on YouTube. Like the most I contributed to the scene was I made unboxings, which I don't think really mattered that much, if I'm honest. And I was watching a lot of videos on YouTube as well, so that's how I participated.
Yeah, but I think it does. I think it does matter. Like it, you know, that's a big part of the fingerboard scene on YouTube is unboxing. So I definitely do think you contributed in that sense, if that makes sense.
Thanks. I think what was great about YouTube at the time was you could almost always find a review of whatever was out at the time, which was really fun and kind of I got my information through reviews, like seeing how people liked them, and not just like Vicious274. I'm talking like other people too who made videos.
But shout out to Vicious274 because that's
Shout out Vicious.
yeah.
But yeah, like aside from that, I guess the one thing I did read, or checked pretty much every day was a blog called Unite Fingerboarding.
Okay.
And it was created by Kerry Williams, who was very involved with both the scene as a whole, but also UK fingerboarding specifically. So I got pretty much all of my information from those two places. Like I learned about Catfish Barbecue on Unite Fingerboarding.
Were you in the UK at this point? Okay, that's cool.
So I think I typed in like Fingerboard UK, and that was one of the first links that came up. And like I said, I did occasionally check FBHQ, but not that religiously. But yeah, so I would participate by posting videos, and I didn't use anything else. And I think a lot of the reason why my views on the scene or what fingerboarding has become, like the reason why those views have changed, is because of Instagram. And it's a place where I'm able to voice my opinions a lot more, for better or for worse. And I could feel like I'm allowed to post every day on that account if I want, whereas I would never post every day on YouTube because it would take too much time, and also I just never wanted to. Instagram just makes it so much easier to be a part of the community. And so I guess my views on how or when I talk about things or just how the community is changed because of the way the scene operates now. And I'm sure like as like there might be a new app that we end up using, and that might change the way I view fingerboarding. I think if I was a part of Discord, I would think of fingerboarding differently too. I think the way fingerboarding impacts you, or the way you think about fingerboarding, is based off of the little, like, the different parts you choose to be a part of. So you get to choose not to be a part of Discord. You get to choose kind of not to be a part of Instagram. You can not be on Instagram,
TikTok?
YouTube, or anything.
What about Fingerboard TikTok?
I don't use Fingerboard TikTok. I don't use TikTok.
You should use Fingerboard TikTok. You should use TikTok.
TikTok is banned in China because something happened with TikTok CEO and Douyin CEO.
What?
Yeah.
This I did not know.
Because Douyin, which was the original TikTok, was created in China, and then I think they brought it over to the States or something like that, and then something happened.
Oh.
But anyway, I don't use TikTok.
Well, there's
I find it a very
small TikTok.
Right.
You find it what?
I find it very overwhelming. I can't deal with TikTok. It's too much for me. But yeah.
So you don't even know about the Fortnite American Girl or American Boy parody? That's so sad. That song's a banger.
No, but I like, if there are memes on TikTok or whatever, like I'll know about them, because of like some people will post it onto Instagram, and I'll watch the TikTok through Instagram, or like my friends send them to me like via a screen recording,
Okay.
and I can still consume it that way, but I don't enjoy the format of TikTok. It's just
You are not missing much, but at the same time you're missing everything. Like I hate it, but I can't. It's a total social media addiction. Like I'd rather delete Instagram. Like it's
Really?
gotten that bad. Oh my gosh, yeah. So anyway, off topic question.
Yeah. But yeah, I think back then, it was kind of harder to be a participant and a contributor to the scene. Whereas now it's kind of easier as long as you're somebody who uses Instagram or maybe TikTok or whatever. And if you have good content on YouTube, I think it's also very easy to break into that. Like if you
Yeah.
have something good to say, if you have if you just make like good quality videos, people will watch them. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But since using Instagram, I've been able to see all the different sides of fingerboarding that I never saw before. So I've been able to see the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And I think because it's so accessible, right? News travels in a much quicker way and also differently. So the way we receive information is so different. So I might hear one thing from one person, but then I'll hear something else from like another person. And I think there's more, like, I'm sure there was drama in the FFI community too, but I feel like there's a lot more drama now that
Yeah,
I
there's a
know
lot
of.
of
And
yeah, there's a lot of negativity
yeah,
too that I never knew about, which is kind of frustrating in a way.
yeah, exactly. I think, like, I'm sure there was always some sort of negativity, but I think in a way, when things were existing on FFI, it was easier to screen the negativity. If it was like invite only or whatever. I'm sure that's not actually the case, but
I mean, I've been in group
with
chats that are invite only that have gotten people kicked out. So it's like, it
exactly.
can still exist.
So yeah, kind of like back in 2014, I was able and I was allowed to be oblivious to the negative things that happened in the community. And I never knew about it. And now I created Instagram. Like if I never created Instagram, I probably wouldn't know about anything that was going on. I would
Yeah.
just be fingerboarding and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
But now I have access to all of that information. And I think once you start your Instagram for fingerboarding, you can't not be a participant. Like even someone like Evan who doesn't post all the time. I don't even know when he last posted, but he posts on his story at the very least. But like I feel like you still get to have to see all the stuff that's happening.
Yeah, because you still participate with the other people involved in the community and you still
Yeah.
see the other things. And sometimes you either have to or you make posts about things that are going on. So, like, you still stay involved with it regardless of if you're uploading, like, original content or videos or
Yeah.
something like that. But again, that's a time thing. I have a
Yeah.
standard that I want to hit that I don't have time to hit. So I should just lower my expectations, but I don't want to. I have one last point. And this kind of goes back to a question you asked me earlier, but I still don't tell people that I fingerboard outside of like my really close friends. Like it is not a defining personality trait at all, and it's not something that people really know about. And I know that you've said that has changed for you a little bit.
Well, it's yes and a no. So actually, it's quite funny because I was at a birthday lunch a few days ago. I was being responsible. Just a disclaimer. Because things in Hong Kong for the pandemic are nowhere near as bad. Like we have 20 cases a day or something like that. So please don't give me crap. And also, we all got tested before the lunch. That's it. That's all I wanted to disclaim. But yeah, I was at a birthday lunch and then we took a bunch of photos. And my friend who does know my fingerboard because she was my roommate for one of like a semester when I was still at boarding school, she tagged my fingerboarding account instead of my personal account. And I freaked out because I was like, don't tag my fingerboard account. I don't want people to know I have a fingerboard account because I don't mind if people know I fingerboard. I don't really want people to know that I make content for it. I guess because right now the only content I'm seemingly producing as a video creator, as a filmmaker, as a photographer is just fingerboarding because I'm not putting anything out on my personal that isn't narrative or isn't up to a certain standard, I guess. Like it's not that I post crap on my fingerboard Instagram, but do you get what I mean? Like I'm not just
Yeah.
like Yeah,
No,
so
I completely understand. And being a content creator, like, there's levels in being just a fingerboarder, being a fingerboard content creator. I think that's so, like, even the people that know I fingerboard don't know that I content create for
yeah,
fingerboard. You know, like, there's
exactly.
levels to it. So, like, you know, so no, that's understandable. When I posted my first edit, somebody that I knew threw it up on their regular social and tagged it, and I was like, take that down.
Take it
No,
down
thank you.
right now.
I don't need people from high school knowing I do this, but yeah. So that's everything I have. Do you have anything else?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, then I shouldn't have
I
swapped
guess
my camera battery because we're wrapping.
well, yeah, I guess we should wrap it up. And to conclude, the one thing that will never change is I will still love fingerboarding no matter what. Like, even no matter how toxic the scene becomes, like if it gets to a point where it's like unbearable, it doesn't matter. I'm still gonna fingerboard. I think that's the one thing that both Evan and I have kind of tried to say is like we love fingerboarding no matter what. Like the act of fingerboarding itself.
Mm-hmm.
I can't I can't imagine myself either like not having at least one setup. I know for sure there are a bunch of boards I want to keep probably forever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever get to a point where like sell off my collection. I think it'll be like I fall out of love and I give it to somebody who's still in love, you know? Like it wouldn't be about getting the return. I mean, unless I had something crazy expensive. Like I probably wouldn't give my big mini away, but like my ramps I don't really care about.
yeah.
But so yeah, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Just as a reminder, we upload every other week. But if you want to hear more from us, once again, we're at the Fingerboard Brew on Instagram.
And I know this was a very rambly episode, but if you want to check out any of our other episodes, check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. We also want to thank our sponsors of this episode once again, Shed and Chems. Thank you both so much.
Absolutely. So, yeah, join us next week for another fascinating.
Not next week.
Not
the
next week.
The week
the
after.
week after, for maybe a surprise.
Oh.
Maybe
A guest,
we'll
maybe?
see. Possibly. We didn't say it. So, all right. Have a good one.